Welcome to Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto, Willies, your host. Today I have the honor of speaking to Christopher Pearson of the National Popular Vote. Before we get started, Christian, thank you so kindly for having
It's great to be here. Nice to see you.
Look, tell me a little bit about you first of all. I know you have a little bit of interesting positions that you've had in Vermont. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, I've served in my legislature. I did 8 years in the Vermont House and then 6 years in the Vermont Senate, which was really cool.
Let me break you. Why don't you just come out and say, I was a senator in Vermont and I was a congressperson in Vermont, I was a representative in Vermont. I mean, it's almost like you're like, well, you know, I served in the Senate.
I mean, those people need to get over themselves.
It just shows a lot about who the brother is. Anyway, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, so fascinating experience. My state rep got elected mayor, and I got appointed to office by the governor in 2006. I'm not sure I ever would have run, but getting appointed to office is a good way to go. And
there you go.
And then I ran and won.
Oh, so you did run?
Yeah, I did run.
Okay.
But I started that way, and I think that is probably the only way I would have gotten there, because being a candidate, I'm more interested in working on issues and organizing, and I come out of a grassroots kind of background. So.
Okay, well that's great. Well, you're now working with the National Popular Vote. It is one of those programs that I completely love. And the reason why is you found it's not a way around the Constitution. You're simply following the Constitution to get the right results of an election.
That's right. So Constitution gives states total power over their own electors. So we're fixing the Electoral College. People say, "Oh, are you eliminating the Electoral College?" No, we're working with states to change the way it works so that you add up all the votes in the country, get the most votes, you're guaranteed to win. And that would be a big change. We can do it through state power. We've already passed 18 states. We need to reach a threshold of states that together have a majority of the electors, 270 electoral votes. We're up to 209. So we got 61 states with 61 to go. This is something 2 out of 3 voters like. It's not actually a partisan issue on the street. And we're banging away at the states, and we've been doing this since 2006. And we're hopeful we can get it done by 2028.
So how many votes are your way?
61.
Electoral votes, 61 electoral votes.
And we would make every vote equal, and we would guarantee you get the most votes who win the election.
And that's all it means, real democracy. That's all it really means. Now, as you're working this throughout the different states, are you finding it difficult within red states who would actually believe the power that and the truth of the matter is they have more power than their population dictates?
We are finding it to be a partisan issue, and it's gotten more so after the 2020 Stop the Steal and that kind of movement, unfortunately. So when I testify in front of the Nevada Elections Committee, a few people coming after me opposing the bill, one of those guys was indicted as a fake elector, right? So our opponents are this stuff,
the ones who don't even believe in democracy.
That's right. Yeah. And we're going, hey, every vote should be equal. When you get the most votes, you should win the election. And when you are one of the 80% of Americans that live in flyover country, in deep red states or deep blue states, we think your vote should matter too. We think the candidates should come ask you what's important and court your vote. Right now, that's happening in about 8 states. It ought to happen in all 50 states. That's ridiculous, right? So these are it's pretty basic, but it is hard. And unfortunately, it has taken on more of a partisan bent lately, although actually about half the Republican voters like this, but the far right is very worked up about it.
Well, who cares, right? I mean, no, I don't mean who cares about the right. I mean, I say who cares about worked out. When you have the principal position, it's hard for you to feel any sort of guilt for somebody who's saying, please continue to let us do what's wrong. Continue to let us do what's wrong.
And they don't have the numbers, right? 2 out of 3 voters likes this, but they are effective at making a lot of noise. And that can be intimidating to legislators that are looking at hundreds of issues.
Right.
I come along and say, let's talk about the Electoral College, how bad it is for our country. and they're sort of saying, well, I got to deal with schools and healthcare and any number of crises, right?
It's funny, a lot of them never even knew for quite a while what the Electoral College was. And they only know about it now because they're feeling that advantage may be going on. So they're instructing their people about it. It's amazing.
But twice in our lifetime, we've elected the second place candidate because of the way the Electoral College works.
It is sad.
Yeah.
We have a Supreme Court that is supreme because I think ultimately 4 justices, is it 5?
5, yep.
5 justices were elected by a president who garnered the minority of the votes.
Right. Yeah, so the consequences to this structural issue that we're addressing through national popular vote are enormous. You look at voter participation. Voter turnout is 10 to 12% higher in the battleground states than the rest of the country. Well, the rest of the country is like 40 states, right? So,
amazing.
So when you think about the impact down ballot, huge impact there. Jamie Raskin, who's now a member of Congress, he was the sponsor of the very first national popular vote bill to come into law right here in Maryland, 2007. He says, if you go by national popular vote, you reawaken politics in every part of the country. And I think that's vital. I think that's timely.
Especially now.
We have a faith in the process, a crisis in faith in our democratic process, and this would go a long way to restoring it.
Now, how do we get there?
We get there by passing this in another 5, 6, 7 states. And we're cranking away. We're still very active this year, 2024, in Michigan. Is realistically the only state that we could still get. We just passed it in Maine in April. A year ago, we passed it in Minnesota. We're exploring a dozen states. We've been active in all states at one point or another, but we're targeting effectively about a dozen states. And we need the election to go well. We need voters to ask candidates, hey, do you support one person, one vote?
Right.
And national popular vote. And then we look for opportunities, and we have, as you've said, I like that. We have a winning argument.
Yeah.
We should all be treated equally, and when you get the most votes, you should win the election.
That is it.
It's not controversial.
Not at all.
So we just keep pounding away. We have broad coalition supporting us, and 2 out of 3 voters, and this is steeped in the Constitution.
Well, look, Mr. Pierce, thank you so kindly for having been.
Taking a few minutes.
Absolutely.
Nice
I think it's important that we have people out there doing this work. And, you know, it's great that we have a former state senator, a former legislator who is here with us to discuss this. You have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks, man.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.